Thank you so much for being a part of this afternoon with us. We have here author and friend Garima Garg. Garima Garg is a journalist and an author, like I just said. Born and brought up in Delhi, she studied economics at Delhi University and attended Columbia University for her master's in journalism. She writes about culture and her work has been published in various international and Indian publications. She's here with us today to talk about her latest book, Heavens and Earth, which sheds light on a very interesting topic, something that Indians over the years have had a love-hate relationship with, astrology. She talks about the story of astrology through ages and culture. Over to you, Garima.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Neha. And I'm very happy to be here and very happy to be a part of Thivasa doing this book discussion. So
It's a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, looking forward to the discussion.
So I think we'll go head on. Astrology is a very interesting and unusual topic to pick to write a book. So why astrology really?
Right. So it's interesting. I mean, in 2000, so I had a typical image of astrology in my mind growing up. That it's something orthodox, something like superstitious, even regressive at times. And you have this image of a old man in in their middle 40s and 50s, and saying all sorts of conservative and orthodox things. So that was my image. But in 2019, I started to see a very different face of astrology, and it was mostly, what I was seeing people were doing in New York or in California or, like Seattle. So people had these really cool apps, like really cool websites, YouTube channels, podcasts, and they were like, these people were like women, young women, or people from the LGBT community. So that was very interesting to me, the paradox of it, that the image that I had in my mind and this alternate reality that I was seeing in front of me. So I wanted to explore that paradox, and initially this book started as a story that I did for a US based publication. And then when the pandemic happened, I saw my opportunity to write a book. So this happened.
The best use of your time, I think.
Yeah.
So from economics to culture to astrology, did you always have that inclination, or like you said, it happened over the years when you saw?
Right. So I think I love traveling and I love going to places and exploring the essence of that place through its museums or musical or art shows, or just reading about the history, because I think it gives you a sense of what makes that place. Like if you're talking about Delhi or Mumbai, or if you're talking about India, or like let's say Mexico. So one of the interesting experiences I had in New York, so I studied journalism in New York, and my reporting beat was in area which had Hispanic people. And I found out, they have this festival, it's called Day of the Dead, so it's called something else in Spanish. But basically they celebrate and honor their departed ancestors or loved ones. A lot like what we have in India, Shraddh, right? Exactly. So until then, I'd only known about the Indian tradition, but when I saw that there's a Mexican, parallel of it, there's a Mexican version of it, so that was very interesting, and I like exploring things like that. So a lot more interesting than economics.
Yeah, I'm sure. So, in your book, you had said something very interesting, which said time itself became something of a deity.
Right.
Now, that's a very loaded sentence, I got. So, can you elaborate for our guests here what you meant by that?
Right. So, the place where I've written that, the passage where I've written that sentence, I've also written about Lord Brahma and Lord Krishna, who's an incarnation of Lord Vishnu. So, I've explained the Hindu concept of time through Lord Brahma and Lord Krishna, and I'll get to Lord Shiva also. So, basically, the like time can be as short as a blink of an eye, or it can be as long as billions of years, which is like a day in life of Lord Brahma lasts for 4 billion years, and a night lasts for just as long. So you have that one element of how to represent time. In the other part, Lord Krishna, when he talks to Arjun before the battle of Mahabharata, he reveals his like divine form, and he says a lot of things. So he shows that everything comes from me and everything will subside in me. So like nature, life, death, all sorts of different kinds of people, everything comes from him and everything will subside in him. And then we have Lord Shiva, who's also known as Mahakal. So when we say Kal, so we represent it as a dark-skinned one, but it's actually time. Kal is time, right? And yeah, and goddess Kali and Mahakali. So there are all these different ways of representing time. So you have to wonder, like, why did they focus so much on time? Like, why are the three main deities of Hinduism, or if I even consider Mahakali, so that makes it four deities. So why is everyone represented in terms of time, like creation, sustenance, and destruction? And so for me, the way to understand that is through the planet of Saturn, right? Saturn or Shani in Hindi, it is also represented with time. So Shani is also it's associated with time, and it's also associated with karma and justice. So the idea is that in the long term, in the passage of time, justice is done. We live out our karmas, the good karmas, the bad karmas. So the wrongdoers are exposed and the right doing is vindicated. So I think that is the central idea for the Hindu concept of time, and it also ties in nicely with the Hindu conception of astrology. So Jyotish is based on karma. So why
I'm
does
glad you
fate
mentioned
exist?
that, because I was going to ask you that in your book you spoke about the simplicity and the complexity of karma. And karma, very interestingly, has been a concept that has been relevant over generations. It is relevant no matter what part of the world you live in, and what is it about that? It would be really nice if you could shed some light on that.
So I think it's just the natural law of life. I think karma. So we all have these experiences. Like I think by the time we're 20 or early 20s, we've all had an experience of something called fate. We have all had an experience of something called poetic justice. We see that life is not equal, life is not fair. So we have all had these experiences in some form or other. Some people think more about it, some don't think about it. But the point is that the idea itself is universal. The idea itself vindicates itself naturally. So it's like a natural law. So I think that makes it relevant.
Every action has a reaction.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what
yeah.
I think. And
Equal and opposite reaction.
yeah, and I for one firmly believe that there is definitely a balance sheet being kept somewhere, what you do good and what you don't manage to do that. The most common place where the science of astrology is used by a common man today is while making birth charts. When a kid is born, that's the time when everybody goes to like a Jyotish and gets a birth chart. Now, we are led to believe through your book that there are a lot of misconceptions that are sort of attached to that phenomenon. So, could you tell us more about that?
So I think the biggest thing people don't understand is that your birth chart is basically just a map of possibilities. You could have hundreds of possibilities, but only one of those possibilities will come true. And which one of those possibilities will come true and how and when, that to find that out is almost beyond human capacities. I mean, astrologers may oversell their capacity to do it, but it's very difficult. Because think about it, right? So if karma is operating over multiple lifetimes and it's something more cosmic, then how is anyone going to be able to figure out how are you going to live out that karma, how are you going to manifest your fate? So I think people who go to astrologers with the hope of getting some guidance, I think a lot of time they don't understand this part, and a lot of time astrologers maybe they don't understand it, or maybe just for their
or sometimes it's a very simplistic derivation that, oh, your Venus is strong, so which means your love life, married life will be great. Your Jupiter is strong, so you're going to do well in your career. It's a very oversimplification of things, I think.
And I think another thing that people don't know is that there are many different systems of astrology, right? So the sun sign horoscope that you see, that's basically the sidereal zodiac, and it's used more in Western systems. And the kundali that you have, it's the sidereal system. Sorry, I think I misspoke. So the Western system is tropical. So Indian system is sidereal. Right? So if you have your sun in Aries, according to a Western system, or like a newspaper horoscope, you're going to have your sun in Pisces, according to the Indian system. So anyone who
That
grows
is so
up
confusing. All my life, my parents have told me, as per the date, I'm a Taurian, but they'll be like, this is your Rashi, it's some other Rashi altogether, and as per this Rashi is supposed to be like this, and as per, how does that work? Like,
yeah, so that's almost entirely fake. Because almost entirely.
Okay, guys, note that it's fake.
placebo kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, there will be maybe.
Will be like 1 in 12 probability that will be right.
Yeah. So basically, there's something called the Barnum effect, and I've written about that in the book as well. So the theory was given by an American psychologist, and I think it's applied to why people feel like their horoscopes relate. So that happens because when you're reading something vague, which is how newspaper horoscopes are written, right? They're deliberately vague.
Yeah. Oh God.
It's
So
by
generic.
design, so it's not like they are getting that kind of unclear guidance. So it's deliberately vague, it's deliberately open-ended, and then when you read something, you automatically fill in the details. So to you, it feels like, oh, it's accurate, but it's not actually accurate. So it's something happening on a psychological level, because we all want to make sense of who we are. We want to be able to communicate to the other person who we are. So I think newspaper horoscopes work for that reason, but otherwise they're quite far from actual astrology.
And sun signs actually don't tell you anything about you, right? Or they do.
So they were invented in like early 20th century by a British astrologer called Alan Leo. There were other people also, but he was like the main person who set the stage for it. And the newspaper horoscope that you see now, they are written by creative writers. They are not written by astrologers. So, I mean,
It's left to interpretation. I'm going to throw out some words here among the audiences, which are, I'm sure we've heard it at some point in our life. So the first one is Kal Sarp Yog. I think sabko hota hai, right? So what is that? What is that about? What is this? Why are the Rahu and Ketu the villains of our life? Why does that happen? Like, abhi Rahu bhari hai, abhi ye, like it's, how it is.
yeah, there's something called a Rahu Kal also, right? So every day there's a particular time that's called a Rahu Kal, and you should not do anything during that time. You should not do anything auspicious during that time. So I mean, I don't know anything more than that about it, but it happens. So I think that just misuse, that just how big knowledge is worse than ignorance kind of thing. So that's just that sort of thing happening. There's not. For most part, there's nothing to it. So I see this in the West also, So they'll be very much about, oh, Mercury is retrograding. It's a Mercury retrograde. Yeah. It's a very bad time. Or they'll similarly, take up certain things like, okay, it's a Saturn transit. Oh, my life is over and all that. Or you're good. So there was a story that Madonna refused to work with this. A DJ, I'm forgetting his name, because his zodiac sign was inimical to her zodiac sign. So I think people use this kind of thing to justify their bad behavior or whatever they want to get out of.
I think it's a belief system, and how much you feed it,
Right.
just sort of,
But the overfeeding of it is also kind of written into the nature of astrology, I think. So that has been seen across the cultures and across the ages. So it's not something particular to India. It's not something particular to this particular time that we're living in. So it's that is also universal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me something. I have been curious ever since I've been sort of researching. You have done so much research to write this book. You live in a country where astrology is all around you. We are all grown up on it. I'm sure you have a birth chart. You've been through the zodiac sign conversation. Does it make you more superstitious? Does it come to you sometimes in your head that, okay, I know this is not the right time, but should I still go ahead and do this? You know what I mean?
No, not at all. I mean, I used to read my newspaper horoscope for fun, but I've never taken it very seriously, and I don't take it seriously even now. In fact, now I understand that earlier I used to think that fate was something that happened to you, but now I think fate is also who you are as a person. How you respond to situations. So you can't always put it on the external events. You also have to take up some responsibility, some personal accountability. So I think as long as you remember that, even if you follow astrology, you're going to do it in a healthy way.
Right. Manifestation is something that has caught on in a big way right now. Everybody is manifesting from like the smallest to the biggest things. So does that have, some sort of a connection or resonance with astrology? Because
I don't really have an opinion on it, to be honest, and I am not really. So I hear a lot about manifestation, but to be honest, I don't know what it is, and what exactly are people manifesting and how do they do it. So I think it's just one of those buzzwords out there, along with other things like self-care and self-love and all that. So when I say personal accountability, I mean you should have awareness of how you're behaving, what you're doing, why you're doing something, why you're not doing something. So instead of blaming a certain event or instead of blaming a certain person or a certain situation, you should have a sense of honesty about it. So for me, that is what accountability is.
Right. Interesting. So, you also mentioned in your book, it was something that I personally found very interesting. It said that your astrologer is often your therapist. Is that true? I mean, I don't know. Personally, a lot of people, there could be conflicting views here among our audiences, because when you're in trouble, a lot of people tend to go to an astrologer to figure out that kya hoga.
Yeah, I think a good astrologer knows that if you believe in fate, then you have to believe in it for better and for worse. If good things are going to happen to me, then bad things are also going to happen to me. And I think a good astrologer knows that, accepts that, and works according to that. It's someone who does not. So if a client itself is trying to avoid something bad, or if an astrologer is trying to make use of that to earn money or earn his or her bread, instill fear. So in that case, you're going to see a lot of misuse, and the person is not going to be a therapist. Quite the contradictory. But as long as both the parties understand exactly what is the nature of the discipline and what they can get out of it, then the astrologer can act as a therapist.
Right. So, guys, go for the real therapist. The floor is open to questions. Anything you guys want to ask? We have the expert here.
Yeah, have you ever met any astrologer who is telling the truth? Basically, that you're going to tie up.
Met an astrologer
Who is going to tell the truth actually? They always lie.
No, I know of people.
I have never got anyone telling you
Right,
that
right.
this is going to happen. Everyone will say that everything is fine.
See, it's the same in any profession. You're going to have, like, there'll be a minority who will work honestly, there'll be a minority that will deliberately work badly, and then there will be the majority who will just do the bare minimum and get out of there. So I think there are good astrologers. Like in the book, I've interviewed them, I've written about them, I've written about their work, and there are many people I've not written about. So there are good people, but it takes a lot of time to find them. But the average astrologer is going to be probably how you said.
You've been a journalist. I know that you're a photographer as well, or you do a bit of photography, and you are really into Indian culture, different aspects of it. But you chose astrology as a topic versus writing about something else. We've had conversations about Sanskrit and like other things about. What gave you more conviction about astrology versus anything else to kind of write a book on astrology versus, like, let's say, on something else?
So I think, I mean, for most part, it was a matter of chance. So it was like written in the stars itself that I should write this book. So I wanted my first book to be like a travel memoir kind of thing. But having written this book and having thought more about the topic, I feel like one of the most interesting takeaways is since 17th century, 18th century, we've had this ideal of we should be secular, we should be modern, we should be rational, right? So we've completely eliminated the element of life which is not rational, which is not logical, and which, I don't want to use the word religious, but it does not fall in the realm of secular, right? So there is that element of life, and it's true for everyone. It's true for you even if you're a militant atheist. It's true for you even if you're a scientist. It's true for you even if you're any kind of a logical absolutist, right? So I think with this book, I would hope that people are able to entertain more and more of that, whatever they think is beyond rational or beyond secular or beyond, logic. Because that will help them live their life better.
Sure.
So,
More knowledge.
yeah, it helps to live your life in a more holistic way. You're able to, take things as they come, and you're not going to,
Informed decisions, informed
yeah.
actions.
it's not going to cause as much anxiety, it's not going to cause as much, other issues that you might have. So I think it's just a more holistic way of living life.
Since we are on this topic, we just thankfully have the pandemic.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I'm biting my tongue as I'm saying it behind us. But during that time, there was a lot of chatter about astrologically people saying that, oh, it's not there. When I know personally, a lot of people went to astrologers and said, "Ye kab khatam hoga?
Okay.
Pralay to nahi aa raha," stuff like that. So a lot of people, right? So they all were like, "Ye kuch nahi hai, sab theek hai, everything." Do you think that, since you have been sort of researching on this, how did you feel during that whole, that 1.5, 2 years of like?
So, so there were some transits happening that people said, that astrologers said were rare, but the interpretation of it, they could not, get it down. So they said, okay, something apocalyptic is going to happen, and in a way, you can say that something apocalyptic, did happen, right? So, like, we didn't go to school, we didn't go to offices, everything was shut down. This was unthinkable, right? In January 2020, it would have been unthinkable what was going to happen in March or April 2020. So I think they capture the sentiment, but they don't capture the details. So
And God
that
is in the
they-
details, we all know that.
yeah, and details are important too. I mean, if I don't know exactly what is going to happen, then only the pure sentiment of it is going to drive me crazy, right? So the best thing is to do is to just take life as it comes and try and stay level-headed.
You said it.
Yeah.
And thank you so much again, and thank you so much, Garima, for enlightening us on so many different aspects of astrology. I go back more informed for sure. Thank you.